Is it hard to become a real estate agent? Like, that is not the hard part. The hard
Right.
part is getting your license and then saying, what do I do now and how to create my business?
All right, my guest today is here to talk about how to build a real estate agent business through social media, and no one better than Liz Novello. Liz, thank you so much for jumping on with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we kind of jump into and unpack your business a little bit and what you're doing these days, what market are you in, and how long have you actually been in real estate now?
So I'm in New Jersey and I cover a few areas, mostly Essex, Somerset, and Hunter counties. Um, this is starting my fourth year, but my first year I was a secret agent. So I don't count it, but I do because it was such a valuable lesson in so many ways.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I want to unpack all that too. And so, how was your business in 2020 as we're making this recording in January? How did you end up in 2020 and how was business for you?
Sure. So New Jersey we're still really on lockdown pretty much compared to a lot of states that I see on Instagram. I'm like, oh my gosh, we, have our kids only in school twice a week for 4 hours a day. And my business was booming. A lot of people left New York City and figured out, listen, month one, month two, you're living in your apartment. You're like, okay, we'll get back to work soon. Life will be normal. And people were in their houses 6 months and they're like, okay, our two kids, they've never been home with their children. They never worked from home. They're like, time for that yard. It really pushed a lot of my clients that were teetering on the idea of moving to the suburbs, because that's a massive, huge move. It's a whole different section than being a first-time home buyer. It's like moving to the suburbs should have its own category. So it really propelled a lot of those borderline clients that were thinking about making the move in a year, and you were just kind of warming them up to, Liz, get us out of the city ASAP. And so a lot of deals went through in 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So is your market, and so I'm similar, right? So I'm in the Detroit metro market here in Michigan. We're still on lockdown as well. What is the market still hot though? I mean, is it still very much low inventory, houses selling like crazy?
So last week I closed on two properties. I just got two accepted offers on Sunday that I was negotiating till yesterday. I still see it being a really powerful year. This is not the year that people, during last year, people are like, oh, are we going to have another recession? Are we going to go through this home crash? It's not like that. All the professionals are saying that this is not the year. And we're not in the same position. You're not getting a loan, just because you could fill out a form. More people have equity in their house. All those statistics really show that. So we're having another really solid seller's market year.
That's awesome. And I couldn't agree with you more, Liz. I mean, I just made a video on my YouTube channel a couple weeks ago talking and breaking down, what I believe the market's going to do moving forward. And there's just no evidence of this big recession that I think a lot of the media is talking about. It's just kind of clickbait stuff. So if you go back, I want to go back to the beginning of your career. Okay. So I always find this to be interesting. You get into the real estate business, and before you got into the business, what did you think, you were getting yourself into as compared to what you actually went through your first year?
I mean, such a smart question. Somebody the other day asked me a question. I did a poll on my Instagram. I have a solid following on Instagram, and I always want to bring value. So I asked, what can I answer for you? And someone said, is it hard to become a real estate agent? Like, that is not the hard part. The hard part is getting your license and then saying, what do I do now and how to create my business? So I guess I've always been a salesperson, and I know that salespeople kind of get a bad rap, but it's naturally just something in my DNA. It gives me a high. That's my high. I'm the person that has a garage sale, and I get mad if my husband wants to have coffee instead of bringing out the tables and putting out the inventory, as I take it very seriously. I also am the person that can make $1,000 on those garage sales, and it's mostly just the high of getting the sale. And so I've always been a salesperson, so I knew my sales skills would play into real estate. But I didn't ever really think about like that it's a true business, an overall business about marketing. And, I come from a long line of family that owns their own businesses. So I really thought it was more sales. And
Yeah.
yes, you do the sales part, but you need so much more than that.
I love it. I love it. And yet again, I agree. I mean, I think that I talk a lot about these shows on HGTV and what they portray the real estate business to be. And it causes, I think, Liz, a lot of people pain when they get into the business and find out how hard it actually is.
Sure.
What is your position? I'm just curious. What is your position on, selling Sunset and all these, $1 million listing? Do you think that does a good job portraying what it's actually like being a real estate agent or not?
I mean, I think that I've only watched Selling Sunset, I believe, once. And my son, who's only 11, I could tell he kind of has the real estate bug that I had. And he said, I'm going to go there. And I'm like, you can't move to LA. I mean, you can go to New York, but mom's not letting you go that far. But he just loved the whole glam of everything. And it looks
Right.
very different than New Jersey. And it's a different vibe. $1 million listing in New York was really appealing to me because these are areas that I've, walked these streets and know. And so I was always curious. I met Ryan Serhan, which was the nicest guy at the first real estate conference that I ever attended, was Agent 2021 in Miami. And I was all of like 5 days in the business. So I think it's reality shows, right? Like we want to see behind the scenes. It's why going live on Instagram and showcasing your life is appealing for people to kind of get a sneak peek. Do I think that all the deals go through? No, I know in my own business, I don't post anything that I haven't sold, but a lot of agents put out stuff just to keep showing the reps, which I respect, but they're posting things that, can fall apart in the 11th hour. I mean, in this business, even with my 2 contracts accepted this week, I don't get fully excited. I'm happy at that moment, but it's a long process to get to the closing table. And that was something I definitely did not understand when I first got into real estate. Great, you got the contract signed, but there are so many hiccups that can come along the way that could actually break the deal.
Yeah, yeah, no, well said, and it's so true. I think for me in my line of work, I have a real estate brokerage firm in Detroit, and I train and coach agents all over the world. They get into the business because they saw a show, they
Sure.
get their license, and they think that this phone's just going to blow up with $1 million deals and Ferraris and mansions. And, I go back and forth with it. I think those shows are very entertaining. Do I believe that they do a good job, sharing what the business is actually like? I mean, that's probably debatable. So that's probably better suited for another time. So how did you get into the business, or why did you get in the business? I mean,
Sure.
your brother Gary Vaynerchuk has a large. I mean, he's one of the kingpins of social media. We'll talk more about him in a second. Of all the businesses, Liz, why real estate?
So I've always had a passion, why I even watch those shows when I do is I actually love homes. I love design. My my parents and older brother immigrated to this country, and growing up, my mom would take us to open houses, and I would always run into like the kids' room, and I would always imagine it being mine. And the best places that I always remember were like those model homes, when they're building these townhouses or single family homes, because they stage them. And I remember just wanting to live in that home. Um, in fact, my mom recreated on a immigrant budget one of the children's bedrooms, and she got the idea from one of the open houses that we went to.
Mm,
And my mom just always like made our home feel so, so special. Um, I was a teacher. First, I started as a retail manager um, out of college. I was going to school to be a teacher, and my senior year, I was working, and they asked me to be a co-manager, and the money was really great. And I thought, I'm making more than I'll make as a teacher. I think I'll stick with this because I love to sell. But I really learned that managing is different than selling.
Yeah.
And so, I did that for a couple of years and moved back to New Jersey and realized that my true passion was teaching. So I went back to school, got my teaching license, and I taught first grade for many years. And I had my children and decided to stay home. Um, Staying home was, the hardest job I've ever done, but definitely the most rewarding. And, for years, I would send my mom listings from, I would look up houses on Zillow and Realtor and all these things. And I would talk about getting my license, but I was afraid because, when you're out of the workforce for so long, you kind of forget what it's like and you question if you're able to do it and manage it being a mom. And so I was going to fly out to Germany with my brother who was giving a conference or speaking gig. And I knew I couldn't get on that plane and say, I'm going to get my license for the 500th time because he literally would knock me out. So I was like, okay, I quickly logged on. I signed up for real estate school and got on the plane and I said, I did it. I signed up. But I've always had a passion for homes, the idea of homes and helping people.
I love it. I love it. So let's unpack your business a little bit. So right now, as we go into 2021, what does your business strategy look like? What are your main lead sources right now?
So my main lead sources, which has always been, are my sphere, right? Like whenever anybody says, Liz, I'm getting into the business, it's tapping into the people that know you, like you, and trust you, right? So really staying connected with your family and friends. Social media has, my Instagram has been such a big source. Just recently, I thought my clients had found me through my brother. He gives me shout outs and it doesn't hurt to be Gary V's sister. But I just found out the other night that they're like, no, I actually found you, like you posted something in one of the towns we liked and the hashtag actually worked. And I was like, really? And they're like, weeks later, they're like, holy crap, she's Gary V's sister. So it was really cool to see that, the hard work that I put in, because I really think social media is a huge pillar of my business, but I do put in the time to make it work. I'm not just getting shout outs and not following through. So social media. And then I'm really this year, Gary told me from the start, like head down, learn the business, don't ask me for one thing. And so I really took to that. And this year I'm really pivoting and doing much more of a new pillar of business where I'm doing a newsletter, starting next month, which is really exciting. And just really outsourcing more than just Instagram, taking on more parts of social media, starting a YouTube channel in the next few weeks or months. But these are things that I was thinking about prior to the pandemic, but with the pandemic, things kind of pivot and doing a lot more managing and timing out my day because I'm still virtually teaching with my, 2 kids.
So hard, so hard. So are you on a team or are you on
So
your
I'm
own?
on,
Yeah.
yep, I'm on a team. I'm with the Gosling Group at Sotheby's. And it's great. It's, a lot of people, I recommend it for anybody who's starting in the business. It's great to have somebody that you can lean on. I'm a full-time mom. It's my number one job. So I'd like to have the team if I needed it, but also just a lot more independent and which I find appealing to be on the team, but also independent.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And quite frankly, I agree with you, 100%. I think that every new agent, because the way brokerages are built, which we're going to talk about that in a second, getting into the business, teams make a ton of sense. And a lot of teams make sense long-term too. So
Sure.
that's great that you have that foundation and that group, that team atmosphere to help you grow your business. So is the team working? I know at one point, I think that your coach had you guys working expireds. Are you guys doing any of that anymore?
My team doesn't coach with Tom Ferry. I do. So for me, Tom Ferry, literally my brother hosted that conference, Agent 2021, and I met all the big wigs of real estate that I didn't even know who they were, and so Tom Ferry really changed my whole business. My first year, I didn't know what I was doing. And he obviously picked up on it because he called me on my way to pick up my daughter from preschool. And I never get fazed by, like celebrities or anybody like big time, right? But when I saw Tom Ferry calling, I was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing calling me? And so he's the reason why a lot of my business has pivoted and why I stopped being a secret agent, why I even transitioned. I originally was at a different brokerage my first year in real estate, and why I moved. And so he said to me, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and just because you're on a team does not mean that the team's going to just hand you things, right? You're going on a team, you're like, okay, I'm waiting for this. I could sit in that office every day that I did my first year, but you're not getting anything just by sitting there, right?
Yep.
So he said to me, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm like really uncomfortable asking for business. And I was raised in a family where we don't ask for things. And he's like, Liz, don't ask for anything. I want you to call in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, call every expired listing. Don't ask for their business, but find out what the gripes are. And in that moment, I did not want to call people. But if Tom Ferry tells you to call people, you better do it. So I started getting on the phone, and half the time people didn't answer. The other time I did. Like, I remember the first time somebody answered and I felt like, oh, I'm gonna get the opportunity to be in their home. And then their daughter called me to make sure that I know that she's a real estate agent. What did I want from her parents? So it was a lot of learning, and it also just kind of changed my perspective of like, I can't just sit here and wait for business. I have to do something about it. It's like the way I look at my Peloton every morning. I'm like, I see it. I purposely put it in my bedroom. I see it, but unless I'm getting my butt on that bike, nothing's changing. You got to put in the reps for results, right?
That's
and it could be little steps, because I was still teetering. I was still half pregnant. I was still like saying like, I'm in real estate, but I'm not. But that was more of just my confidence issues. And so with Tom saying, don't ask for business, don't get business, really alleviated some of that pressure that I felt.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about is what you just said is what I want to really talk through, because you have now transitioned to growing a great business. You've got a great Instagram following. But Liz, I think that agents look at agents like you and say, ooh, I don't have to prospect, Brandon. I don't have to make calls. I can just post on social media like Liz Novello, and I can sit back, sit on my hands, and my phone's just going to ring. Is that the case? Is that really what happens?
That doesn't happen. I mean, like, I wish that happened, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Our phones blowing up. But, I think a lot of times, even when people say, like, I don't really want to share what I do. Well,
Right.
in this industry, there are certain things that everybody should be doing, right? But in my experience, I've not known a lot of people to actually put in the work.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so there's no secret. Like, prospecting, we know that. Circle prospecting, yes. Calling FSBOs, yes. Doing that, doing this, unless you're actually doing it, nothing's going to happen. So it's like, yeah, I do my social media, but or Instagram lives and spotlights of businesses and some houses, and building my brand by showing who I am, a mom and 2 children, and love cooking and baking and such. So yes, but I'm answering every DM, I'm answering every comment, I'm still trying to grow each day and do something better. And for me, it's like very overall intimidating for a lot of new agents, and even for myself. Like, I'm still growing. And
Yeah.
when I think about it, something that's really appealing to me is, gosh, I haven't even tapped into all the pillars. And if I'm just doing a little bit of everything and seeing some traction, I can't even imagine when I go full throttle on each pillar,
100%. And just to be clear, Liz, I think when I say the word prospect, when Tom says the word prospect, people think automatically we're talking about cold calling. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about proactively doing the work every day to go out there and build your brand. That could mean a lot of different things. That can mean, mom groups. That could mean growing an Instagram following. That means calling FISBOs. That means working with divorce attorneys, calling absentee owners, it's being proactive. I don't care about the tactic or the strategy. To me, prospecting means that we are in a business and that we get up every day and we proactively go out there and build the business. And so, I think, what would you say, or what advice would you give to agents that get into the business that have this mindset of waiting? Because 90% of our industry, that's what they're doing.
Well, take it from me. My first year I waited and I only sold one house. And I'm
Okay.
Gary V's sister.
Yeah.
People are like, so if I only sold one house, yes, I had high-end rentals because New Jersey has, rentals that are more than a lot of people's mortgages, right? So, and yes, my first deal was an NFL Jets player because of my brother as a rental, but I only sold one house. That's really humbling. I had to eat
Absolutely.
humble pie. I thought like, yeah, I'm going to show this industry. I got it. I got my Vaynerchuk blood. And I ate some great humble pie because the truth of the matter is you're not getting anything based on a name, based on having a lot of friends or family members that are possibly buying or selling. You have to put in the work. There's just nothing about it.
That's right.
Because think about this, like,
yeah.
If everybody's phone were blowing up, we would all be at a different financial caliber in this country, right? Because everybody
right.
then would want to be an agent.
Yeah.
Just like everything. Like my first year of motherhood, it was so hard. It was so isolating. I was scared. There were so many things I needed to learn. And then by the time 3.5 years later, when I had my daughter, it was like at the hospital, I was like nursing my daughter, like doing something for my son. And like, I'm a professional mom. Like I now think I dominate in motherhood, but I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still trying to change as they change. It's kind of how I view the market. Like market's changing, got to adapt. My son is 11 and, heading into preteens, and I got to adapt and learn what that looks like or how I need to support him. So I think it's, ever lasting of evolution of how you do your business, how you do everything in life.
Yeah, no, that's great. There's a great quote, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And for me, this business, you have to be proactive or you are going to starve. You nailed it. I don't care what your last name is or what company you work for. That phone is not going to ring. You have to go out there and make it happen. So let's talk about your strategy a little bit.
Sure.
So you're doing really well building a business through social media, specifically Instagram.
Yeah.
Can you give us a high level understanding of what the strategy looks like?
I would love to say that I'm organized in what I do for Instagram, but what happened was I did a house tour. I sent it to my brothers and my parents, and I said, look, my house tour. Because I used to watch, as a kid, my mom would watch Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous, where they would like showcase the house. And I always loved that idea. And Gary's like, oh, go live, do that. So I sent it to my family, and I'm at an open house. I'm working it. It's quite busy, but I hear my phone ping, 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 ping. And for an hour straight, my phone blew up. Like that's literally the only time I've ever experienced a real blow up.
Yeah.
And I went from, I think, like 500 followers to 15,000 followers in an hour.
Wow.
And I literally like couldn't even figure out how to turn off the notifications, but I was trying to drive home and use Waze. And I was like, I kept out of swipe up, And so I didn't realize at the time, I knew like something must have happened. So my brother Gary said, hey guys, go follow my sister. And so when I called him to say, oh my God, thank you. I was just sending it to you and AJ and mom and dad. And he said, now you got to put in the work. Now you better do it every single day. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so it was like a blessing. But from that moment, I was like, okay, the things that I've heard him speak about at the conference I used to watch his stuff just because I love him so much and I love seeing him. And the biggest tool that I used was to document, not create. That's his biggest thing. Don't document, create. Like when people think about like on Monday, I'm going to post this, like I'm totally fine if you're kind of getting some ideas and I do that. Like, oh, you should post about that. But for me, I'm just documenting my life. It's, it just makes it so much simpler. And I guess in some ways I didn't ever realize like maybe I'm just creative. I don't know, but I just really think about, I learned something new today, I'm going to post about it. Or I closed on a house, or I, went into a store and it's the first time I'm in this new store in Baskin Ridge. I'm going to show people around. I mean, one of the best moments were, I think it was last year, I was at a store and I was shopping for some holiday gifts and I did a live from there and I grabbed a hat. I'm like, okay, this is cute. And the phone rang and the owner went, and after my live, she goes, somebody just called to buy the hat that you just showed. And I was like, I thought she was joking. I was like, no.
Wow.
She's like, and I was like, hey guys, can you just like buy a house for me like this? Like, I love that you bought the hat, but anybody want to buy the houses I've listed, So for me, I really take the approach of documenting. And I don't know, like, I think a lot of people say they're uncomfortable, but if you show what you actually do, I think it makes it simpler.
Such great advice. And I love it. I mean, you said that on another podcast you did. And obviously I'm a big fan of your brother's and he talks about that all the time, because you're right. I mean, most real estate agents, I'm big on making video content. Like I'm a freak about it. My team's making a video every single day of the year. That's our 2021 goal. But you're right. Agents get so freaked out. It's like, well, what am I going to talk about? Well, you're a realtor. Just document. If you're going to go write an offer, talk about it. If you're going to go show a house, talk about it. If you're going to do an open house, talk about it. And I love that advice, Liz, when you said that. Even when you said it now, you gave me goosebumps. It's like, you don't have to create anything. Just document what you're already doing. And so how do you turn that content, Liz, into like actionable content where people now are reaching out to you? I think there's the disconnect.
Sure. I think just, there's always an engaging question at the end of my post, or, commenting on the comments, putting in the work there too,
Yes.
Because you might post something. I might be doing that business highlight, but maybe I wrote like, what's the best, holiday gift you're giving somebody this year, and just engaging, building those relationships.
Yeah.
Like whole business is relationships. That's it. Like, I'm just trying to communicate with you. Let's talk, anytime I get DMs, I'm responding to the DMs. It's, it is a whole huge part of my business, but it does take a lot of time. It's not that I'm just posting. I'm commenting back. I'm appreciating. I'm encouraging. I'm, building that relationship.
Love it. And that's just the thing is, I think people have this mindset of like, again, going back to what they believe prospecting means and what it doesn't mean. If someone were to shadow you, you're probably spending hours, just like, let's just take two business models for a second. There's the people that are just pounding the phones every day, calling FSBOs expired, circle prospecting 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And then there's you're probably spending as much time, if not more, putting in the work, creating the content, documenting, responding to DMs, commenting. People, that's what I want people to take away from this. Liz, would you agree with that?
I also want to add, I don't think people realize, like, my business does not end at 5. I'm super available. Yeah. I'm super available. I mean, I got a text message at 9:45 the other night. I'm always like, a lot of agents are like, I have a hard stop at 7. I respect it. I just don't. I'm still building my business. Yeah. I don't have the luxury of ending a hard stop at 7. I'm still replying. For me, it's, it's just working harder than everybody else.
That's right.
For me, when everybody said in this business, you can't be part-time. And I remember thinking, okay, I drop my kids off every day at school and then I pick them up. But that time block that I have, I'm serious about head down and getting my business done. I'm not scrolling on Instagram. I'm not shopping at Nordstrom's. I'm not, like just consuming TV or whatever else. I'm head down doing my business. And I actually think that time blocking, when people talk about time blocking, I felt really fulfilled and really happy when my kids were in school and I had those hours to just bang out work.
Yeah. There's
And
some,
then when they went to sleep, the continuation, and mostly that would be where I'm responding to the comments on my Instagram, the DMs. I get tons of DMs and comments. I don't understand when people, like, for me, I'm so grateful that someone would even take the time.
right.
Like yesterday, I said, "What's your favorite Martin Luther King quote?" Because the day just got away from me, but I really wanted to post something. And just the fact that somebody wrote like a 3-liner of their favorite quote, I'm like, gosh, to take that time just to write your quote, I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. What platform do you think makes the most sense for realtors to spend most of their time, energy building? Is it Instagram, or do you think there's a
I
place for
mean,
other platforms?
my brother says everything. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not dominating on other platforms. It's definitely something that will be moving forward on 2021. I everybody's able to build their business at their speed. I think that yes, I'm Gary V's sister, and with that, like he's just always been like, I'm his younger sister. This is who he has been for his whole entire life. He is not different. He's still the most kind and generous human. He's also the guy who just literally can just open his eyes and create businesses in like a half a second. It's
Mhm.
always been like that. I've always been his employee. There was a difference about being an employer when I talk about when I used to manage. Like, there's so many skills into being a true entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My skill set has always been I dominate much more on selling and connecting with humans, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's my superpower. He just has them all. And so for me, we can consume everybody's content. We know what to do, but you got to do it at your own speed. So for me, it was dominating Instagram. It's where I felt comfortable. But now I'm moving on to like go into Facebook. Facebook is killing it for so many people.
Yeah.
So many people. LinkedIn, like, I'm much more active in the last week, 2 weeks. Like, I got to get on there. TikTok, like,
Yeah.
yes, I don't want to show you, I'm private. I started sharing my kids much more this year. But I don't want to do those family dances. We're horrible. Like,
Right.
I think I'm a good dancer, but it's only when the lights are dim and like maybe half a cocktail in me.
That's
But like,
right.
I mean, um, but it's really pushing yourself to try those different platforms, but really, if you can, do them all.
Yeah, it's great. What's the play on Clubhouse, you think?
Oh, I love it.
I know, I do too.
Oh my God. I love it. Okay, so I got in Clubhouse. I'm not even truly positive how it happened. And
I tried to invite you the other day and you were
you
already
did-
on there. I saw
yes,
your post on Instagram. You're like, who's
yes,
going to invite me to Clubhouse? And I tried to do it and you were already on there.
it was unbelievable. I was on Clubhouse. And the first time I got on there, I was like, I clicked on it and I knew it was voice, but half a second I was like, oh my God, wait, can they see me?
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
and I got nervous. And then the consumption just took over.
Yeah.
It's like here's the other thing. I really don't consume a lot.
Right.
I think a lot of people take time and consume, and I think it's awesome because I think you can learn from everybody, right? But I really put my head down to learn the business and focus on only consuming Tom Ferry and my brother. That was it. And now that I'm on Clubhouse, just learning from other agents has been insane because you only know what you know. You only know by the couple agents that you're friends with, what they're doing.
Yeah.
This just exploded and opened up different areas. Not everything's going to work in your market. Like, for example, the one community in Baskin Ridge, like, they'll call the cops if you do door knocking. Like,
Mm.
it's just not
Wow.
happening here.
Yeah.
So different tactics in different areas. But it's been so exciting.
Yeah,
It's
for
been
sure.
so exciting.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Clubhouse opens up a whole new experience for people that do consume, to your point, and the creators.
Mhm.
Because I have got some big plans for that platform for myself, and I think it'll just really open up a whole new world for education and for learning and for connecting. It's going to be really, really cool.
Agreed, for
Yeah.
sure. And also, whenever, for me, I have the luxury of needing agents, and most people don't want to move to New Jersey unless, like me, my family's here and I'm kind of stuck here. But of course, like, great weather somewhere or less expensive area to live in is appealing. So a lot of people leave New Jersey. So I want to connect with agents that I'm comfortable with. I'm not somebody that would ever refer my friends or family to an agent I don't have a relationship with. This is a great way for me to meet other agents, build that relationship, and also like whenever someone finds out about my brother, and they reach out and it's so sweet and so special, but it's also nice to have agents that are just reaching out to me for me, like
Yeah.
to connect with me. And then we have normal conversation.
Right.
Not, hey Liz, if you need somebody in, Seattle, please reach out to me. There's no
Right.
building a relationship. Or it could be like an agent from Mass wrote that, oh, it was so nice. Thank you for sharing on Clubhouse. And she's like, actually, I have a sister that lives in Morristown. And then I asked her how she ended up in Massachusetts and is she a Patriots fan? And then,
Yeah.
then we talk about if she ever comes, after, the pandemic dies a little bit or such.
I love
we'll
it.
meet up.
Yeah. So cool, Liz. So cool. So, let's talk about something that I teach, and everybody calls it something different. I call it pipeline maturity. You had talked about this on another interview that you did. Help realtors understand, if they're new to the business, the fact that it takes time. I say to my students and the agents at my team, listen, the work we do today won't manifest for 3 to 6 months in the future. Can you talk a little bit about that,
Oh my
that concept?
Or even longer. I had clients for over 2.5 years. I went on a listing appointment. I am a very honest agent and I give them the price point that they're actually going to get.
Yes.
And they went with somebody who offered them to list their house $60,000 more than the comps and more than the CMA that I gave them.
Yeah.
They listed their property and of course they didn't sell. Listen, I say it like this, like, I wish I were like 6 feet tall and 100 pounds and blonde, amazing hair, but that's not my genetics. Like, as much as I can wish, I want to buy a $1 million house for, 700,000. Like, it's just not going to happen. So we can wish all we want, but the truth is numbers don't lie. And so they tried it. I stayed connected with them. They said, listen, we're going to sell with this other agent, but we really like you. So can you be our buyer's agent? And I said, absolutely. So we found houses, we put in offers that were contingent on the sale of their house, but their house never sold.
Yep.
So we did that twice, which takes months.
Yep.
And the reality was, guys, you're not selling your house. Your house is overpriced, and please speak to your listing agent, because I don't want to badmouth other agents.
Right.
But please explain to your agent that we have a contract signed and that get your house sold in, the 35 days we said that we would get it done. So they decided to take a break. And then in the fall, they called me and said, listen, would you come back and give us a price analysis on our house and tell us what we should do? I went in there. I love like helping my clients stage, and like I have such an eye for that. I told them my ideas again. I told them that they could use all my preferred, vendors and that I have names. And I told them that this is the price. And actually now the price even has dropped down a little bit more.
Yeah.
We
That's
lost
amazing.
that momentum.
Yeah.
And I gave them 2 tactics. They wanted to try a different number. I said, fine, I'll try your number. And I made it within a range that's like, makes sense. But I said, we're not going to get it. And I said, after 10 days, you're going to let me reduce it, right? That's the deal. If I'm going to put my heart and soul in this,
That's right.
I need you guys to be on board. And I need you to trust me. So, and at that point, like I become friends with all of my clients. So at that point, I felt comfortable saying that. Would I say that at the first meeting? Definitely not.
Right.
But I felt like I could be a little firmer on that. And of course, we listed their house. Their house went on literally the week of the pandemic. And that changed everything. We had to go to plan B. Like, let's get that video. Let's do let me show the house virtually. Let's limit. But we got the house sold. And then they bought their dream house that they still tell me, oh my God, Liz, I love this house. And then that same client had an estate as an attorney and said, Liz, do you want it? And I said, yes, I sure do. So that turned into 3 transactions. but I was
All
with them for over 2 years.
And that's the reality. I tell agents, listen, if you're coming into the business and you need to get paid on Friday, we got a little bit of a problem,
For
because it just
sure.
takes time. Just takes time.
This is the long game. This
Yep.
is the long game.
And, there's a lot of, big time gurus, Tom Ferry and I feel like we're on the same page here, but there's a lot of big time voices saying, hey, if the lead's not ready to transact in 7 days, throw it in the trash. And I'm sure you've heard that before. It's total. I just can't handle that advice.
Definitely not. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pounding. You can get there, but it's not going to close. And like the audacity that people think that they could even transact like that and get the commission that we do.
It's insane.
Come on. Like the guy working behind the cash register, like, is he saying like, I'm not going to swipe these groceries because I'm not, going to make X, Y, and Z by Friday? It's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous to even fathom that type of mentality. And so we are in a relationship business and things take time. So Liz, what's the vision of your career? Where are you headed? Where are you going? What does the future look like 10 years, 5 years, 10 years from now?
I've always been such a planner in my life. Like I got married really young, and I wanted a family. Like I've always been the person to plan out everything. But something so beautiful that I've really experienced during this pandemic is that you can't plan for anything. I have goals, but I don't set myself up for that. I'm just enjoying where I'm at.
Yeah.
And until it doesn't feel good, I'm out, and, I have that luxury because I really now have built this confidence that I know I can do anything when I put my mind to it. 5, 10 years, I just want to be happy. That's it. I think about growing. Yes, I want to be the most known agent in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, or in New Jersey overall. Like that'd be amazing in 10 years, but I know it's going to take time. I don't set myself up for those goals.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, any part of you that thinks that our industry is in jeopardy from a technology standpoint, the Zillows of the world coming in, what's your position on that?
I've put some thought. I think that they have a good thing going, but I still think, that people like to interact with people.
Yeah.
That people want to work with people that they know. But I think they have a solid, whatever the case may be, I'm going to adapt.
Yeah, exactly right. You go back. So if you go back and start it all over again, Liz, 4 years ago, you start as a new agent. What are you telling yourself to do differently?
Yeah, I think it's just not being scared to put myself out there.
Love it.
That everybody, has to start somewhere.
Yeah. Not be the secret agent.
Don't be that secret agent.
I love it. I love it. So Liz, this was a ton of fun. I love, just having conversations with you and masterminding with you. If people want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you these days?
I think it's probably Instagram, Liz Novello, Novello. And you could always, give me a call. All my information's out there. Text me however you want.
Awesome. I'll link all Liz's information below this video, you guys. So make sure you connect with her. Go follow her on Instagram. She's super inspirational. Liz, thank you so much. I'm glad that we have this relationship. I'm looking forward to working more with you as we move forward. And, good luck in 2021. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do this year.
Same. Thanks so much.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.